Welcome to We Might Be Nerds, a podcast about everything from entertainment and technology to science and history. I'm your host, Dylan Critchfield.
And I'm Kyle Montgomery.
I'm Sarah Critchfield.
And I am Jacob Montgomery.
It's been about a month since we last recorded because we decided to just take a break for the holidays, which was, I don't know about you guys, I found it pretty refreshing to just chill out, stay at home, hang out. How are we feeling, guys? Do you
haven't
feel
seen you guys for a month? I can't believe I haven't seen you for a month.
1 month.
To you.
As if we don't chat every day.
Right.
Yeah, it was all right. Like, at least I got a lot of time with family. That's all I can say.
That's all anybody can ask for. So, just to kind of reestablish, if you're new to the show, what is our thing, guys? Because like we've experimented with like a few different formats before like settling on this. Like, I think what we've kind of settled on is just fun, interesting topics that, hey, maybe it'll help you at trivia night. Otherwise, we hope it's interesting to listen to. Does that about sum it up?
Yeah, don't bring us to trivia night, though. We're going to annoy the crap out of you.
I don't know. We're pretty good at trivia night.
I
took
know.
first at that Disney trivia.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, yeah, we won a watermelon ball at Disney based on Disney trivia. We did it in the pool, which was interesting.
That sounds like more fun.
That does sound like more fun.
No, it was not fun.
Yeah, I won a $15 Dairy Queen coupon, like a gift certificate. That was pretty good.
I don't think I don't think I've done a trivia night since high school. I don't think I've been present for any of them since then. So I have no metric for myself.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
yeah, I don't know what our thing is. It's just whatever we find interesting and maybe other people have heard about or something we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Or you've probably heard of it already and it's new to us, but
Yeah, I just like to bring a cool thing I'm passionate about to the table. That's it.
We just like to talk about nerd stuff is basically what it comes down to. So hey,
yeah, like welcome. The nerds we might be.
Yeah, we might in fact be nerds.
Oh wait, is it the show? Are we done already?
What? Oh, okay. See ya. Bye.
All right, bye.
Stay safe out there.
Just for context, we usually record this show late, and I think we're starting later than usual due to technical issues. So it's gonna be a wild one. Speaking of wild, I think Jake, you've got something about wild things that you wanted to bring in today.
Yes, wild things.
You
make my heart sing.
And this has been, I think the last two topics, and this one too, is just something that randomly on the internet I saw, like, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So did you guys know that in the United States, about 10 to 20% of unplanned power outages happen because of squirrels?
I didn't know that, but I can believe it.
It's so significantly higher than anything else besides like storms or just like equipment failure. Yeah, like
you're kidding me.
No, it's like it's a lot higher.
Wow. I can believe this specifically because when I was in college, I had not 1, but 2 days where campus had to close down because a squirrel crawled into a transformer and blew it. Like, I was in class, the power went out, I was doing IT stuff, so we had to leave for the day. And walking on my way back to the car, I saw the now roasted squirrel just on the ground. So I that's the only experience I have with it. But considering it happened twice in a few years, the 10 to 20% I can believe.
I can corroborate. I was there for that one. The other time was actually a cat.
Oh no, was it really?
Yeah, the other one was a cat, but the first one was a squirrel.
Now, here's the question on everyone's minds. How far away from the transformer was the squirrel after it landed on the ground?
I'd say, because it was a transformer on the corner of the building. I would say it was about a good 40 feet away. It was right off the sidewalk from the building.
I mean, I guess you can't be sure that it was the same squirrel. It could just be another burnt squirrel.
I mean, the thing was
reason.
black, so I'm pretty sure it was completely roasted.
Burnt. Now, did you harvest it like charred skeever hide? Supposedly that's a healing item, right?
No. I just was like, I'm gonna avoid this. This smells bad. I'm leaving. But no, I didn't. 10 to 20%, really.
Yeah, and like I know you'll see a bunch of. And I think at this point it's mostly like scare tactic, headlines where it's like our power infrastructure is susceptible to cyber attack or by enemy states. But at this point, like that is near the bottom of the list for reasons why why the United States has power outages. Yeah, the biggest natural threat. Yeah, squirrels are much better terrorists, I guess, is what I should.
Yeah, I know. I was going to consider a squirrel a criminal mastermind.
Oh,
I know.
God.
And I thought, yeah, like last episode, I talked about lake that kill people, and I guess I'm on another topic where this is killing squirrels, but it's just squirrels. And...
So here's my question: is there a reason that they've discovered that squirrels are attracted to transformers and power lines, or is there any causal factor that makes them want to be near the electricity?
Well, yeah, I mean, because squirrels, they like to build nests. They like to nest like a lot of rodents do, and they like to be up high. And so power poles, and they'll go up and they will, see transformers like you talked about. And I mean, I've read in the article, they said these power companies spend millions of dollars on trying to develop new guards and deterrents. One of them was covering the power lines in some kind of slick material that squirrel, they'll always figure out how to get into that kind of stuff. Because I mean, I know for bird seed, bird feeders, all these different types of contraptions you can get.
My favorite one's the spring just on the outside of it where
the
squirrels are just going wild.
Yeah, but and the problem is a lot of the things they can do is just try to build a guard or a housing around the pole, and eventually a squirrel will chew through it, and people can't be monitoring these things all the time because there's millions of those devices across the country.
Yeah, and when it comes to mitigation factors, when you're looking at mitigating anything, be it security or accessibility, you've got a triangle. It mostly relates to computer security, but also refers to the physical security of an object. You have a triangle where you have confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and you can only pick two of those, really. And those things have to be available to be serviced. So no matter what mitigations you might want to put in place, if you put anything that is really going to keep a squirrel out, chances are it's going to make it harder for the human to service the thing should it go wrong. Not to mention, if something blows and you've got it in a metal enclosure, then you can send, hot metal, There are a lot of things to consider. They probably could make something that would keep a squirrel out, but at the end of the day, it's going to cause some other problem.
Right, yeah, because that's what I think, in the article I was reading that, whenever they have to replace one, it's a lot harder if there's a bunch of these, I don't remember what they were calling them, housings or shields around the transformers, which seemed to be the biggest problem was them crawling into a transformer or just chewing on a line, because as smart as the squirrels are at getting to the thing and figuring out a way to get into it, obviously haven't learned, at least yet, that chewing on the stuff is going to lead to death.
Well, they get pretty swift action, and they don't necessarily get a chance to learn from it on the individual squirrel basis.
Yeah, and I don't think there's primates where they teach their young, things they've learned.
I watched Uncle Gray bite through this line and get zapped. So hey, don't be like Uncle Gray. No, I don't think they do that.
And their bodies are just long enough to span from one wire to another on a residential pole. Mm-hmm. Just long enough. They can make that gap a little wider between those three wires, and that'd be perfect.
That was another thing. But I think like I said, transformers, the biggest thing, chewing through wires, and then obviously going from the two hot wires It's like the third one.
So it is one of the mitigations that has been suggested to literally make the spacing between the lines wider.
That was one of them. And actually I read they did do that whenever the bald eagle population, because, you know, like, I don't remember when it was, like the 70s and 80s, they were becoming endangered.
Yeah.
And as like that population was growing, apparently the wires were too close because they would just like dive through, and because of their wingspan would touch both.
Short them.
Wire, yeah, and it shorted out, yeah. So they did do that, but yeah, apparently, right, fried eagle. And so yeah, they did, yeah, whenever they put up new lines for those around those areas, spread them out more. But I guess squirrels can still bridge that gap at this point. Yeah, and it was a Washington Post article I found. This one was from 2016. They said earlier in 2015 there was a story where a family of squirrels chewed through an electrical line in Richmond, Virginia, that left a high-rise full of senior citizens in the dark for 3 days.
Oh no!
So obviously, I mean, that is, kind of dangerous at that point if you have like people on oxygen or monitors and things.
Yeah.
And then that said that same year there was 45,000 homes in the San Francisco area that lost power when a squirrel took out a whole substation.
So is there a metric for how many squirrel-related deaths there are in the human population?
I did not see.
There's gotta be someone.
Is it more than the squirrels themselves?
Yeah, I mean, the thing I found, which is what I sent Dylan, the website was called cybersquirrel1.com. And this one was last updated in 2019, and it kept track of all the incidents that happened in that year. So there was 1,250 squirrel-related power incidents that year. And this was, globally, it looks like. And like the highest density of it was in the United States and Western Europe, it looks like.
Yeah, that's where there's the most squirrels. So that's where it should be the highest concentration, I would think.
Yeah, then about half that many, 600 birds. And then they have snakes, which I didn't read into too much of that. But I don't know how, besides chewing in, or like if a bird dropped a snake on a wire, how a snake could cause problems with
I'm actually interested in that.
How they'd be reaching across the wires and touching both.
Like if a bird dropped them, I guess.
Yeah,
well, snakes can
but they
climb.
Yeah, they can
well.
climb.
They have pretty muscular bodies. They can try to,
I guess, especially
snakes are very strong and vascular. They can definitely reach across.
Yeah, I should look into this because one of the things is 13 incidents because of jellyfish, which maybe that's.
What? Excuse me? Excuse me?
How'd they get it up there?
Jellyfish on power
How'd they get up there?
Yeah, maybe there's like an underwater line they messed up. I don't know.
Well, in fairness, a few years ago there was that big international trunk of data lines for the internet between the U.S. and Europe was under attack by sharks. So, like. Maybe aquatic life just hates us.
Can you blame them?
They know better.
And I don't know if it's like some kind of hydroelectric, because they do have some power plants that can work off the ocean tides. It doesn't let you on here like click what the incident was.
Gotcha.
But then at the very bottom it has 3 because of humans.
You'd think that would be higher over a year.
Right.
Huh.
And I don't think many of those were very intentional. I think my favorite thing in this article I read, that they're talking about like ways to dissuade squirrels. And unlike birds, they said they tried like owls, which are like a predator for squirrels. But after like a week, they figured out it wasn't a real owl. And there's one report where somebody found a squirrel inside the owl after they chewed its head off, like this fake owl, and used it as a nest. So yeah, they're pretty crafty.
Yeah. I remembered reading about the owls to deter the squirrels, and we tried that in our garden, and no, they were in the garden the next day. They didn't care. Right. And then wasp moved into our owl.
Yeah,
so that's fun.
Right, I think the most effective deterrent we found for squirrels was cayenne pepper, right?
Yeah, but anytime it rained, we had to go out and reapply it, and that stuff gets expensive quickly.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like in the power grid.
Right, yeah, when it's huge and you can't like cover all the lions in cayenne pepper constantly.
Just start hanging chili peppers from it, like, Christmas lights. Here, have some serranos.
They're just hanging there.
Is there a way to infuse like some sort of spicy smelling stuff into the insulation? I wonder. Like, I'm wondering if there's a material science solution to this.
Yeah, which they didn't bring that up at all. I mean, there was the thing I told you about where it wasn't like Teflon, but something like that they put on the wires. But I think even that, like, eventually will wear out because obviously, like the ones in the sun, any type of like plastic like that, it's gonna wash away eventually.
Yeah, I only really see squirrels getting on wires two different ways. One is scaling a pole, and two is jumping from a tree or something onto it.
Yeah.
If you could at least figure out one of them, that'd probably cut down on that. Like, I don't know how many squirrels are just straight up running up the pole as opposed to just, jumping from a tree. With the pole, you could like surround it with a piece of, like a metal sheath or something like that. They can't really climb the metal sheath. They just fall right down.
Yeah, like I think
you would think you'd see more metal sheaths on
really far.
Yeah, mitigating the pole climb is one factor. And like, they cut trees around power lines and stuff. You can only trim that so much before you like take away half the trees in the US. And
then
like long-term underground long distance underground runs are hard to do. Like, we've put all this effort into making, like, Tesla, when he like made AC, put a lot of effort into researching how to deliver power in a safe manner over long distances, and the way we have poles implemented is a big part of that. You can't do that over long distances.
Yeah, because you can do it kind of like locally, buried grounds, but over long distances, it's going to be super expensive.
Yeah, it's infeasible from a cost standpoint alone. Not to mention there are probably technical problems to be solved with it being literally grounded. It stops electricity, guys.
Yeah, and I think right. And I think that was kind of like at the end. Basically the story of the article was that it's just at this point cheaper to fix it when it happens and trying to prevent every single incident from happening. They're gonna find a way, like on Jurassic Park, where like life finds a way. Squirrels will find a way.
Squirrels will find a way.
To get,
they need Jeff Goldblum as their spokesperson for
humans against squirrels and electricity.
So squirrels, the biggest cyber terrorists when it comes to power grids. And I didn't have really much more about that, but I just found it interesting.
I do want to hop back though to the question about the like a metric for people killed by squirrels. I'm willing to put money down that somebody has seen these power outages caused by squirrels, and there has to be a metric for deaths caused by squirrels knocking out power. Someone's got to be doing it. We've seen some wild stuff on the internet. If there are people who are literally dedicated time to becoming the expert on Mii's from the Nintendo Wii, somebody's tracking that stat. I guarantee it.
Maybe I'll look that up and we can post it in the show notes afterwards.
If we can find it, we will definitely post it in the show notes. I gotta know.
Yeah, you mean just like because a squirrel taking out power caused loss of life to somebody, not because a squirrel attacked a human.
Yeah,
indirectly.
Squirrel related,
all of it.
Add those two. Yeah, anything squirrel related.
Squirrel related power outage deaths per capita U.S. Search.
It's probably bigger than sharks, or at least close. I know shark attacks aren't super common like the movies would make you think they are. So,
I would bet squirrel power outages have killed more people than sharks year over year. Probably more than bears too, for that matter.
Probably done, at least dollar amount damage for sure.
The enemy you weren't expecting.
No, those little rodents. Squirrels.
But they look so innocent.
Those electric rodents.
Pikachu's the real menace.
Fighting Pikachus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Maybe someday one of them will become a Pikachu. That'd be great.
Yes.
It's like it comes out. It's got like this really bent up tail. It's like, oh yes.
Oh, it finally happened. Pokemon's real.
It's the one that lived.
The one that lived. The squirrel that lived.
Squirrel God.
Use Thunderbolt. It's like writhing
nuts.
still.
Nuts.
This is Uncle Twitch.
Uncle Twitchy.
But here's the other thing, like, squirrels aren't herd animals at all, so, like, there's, like, even if they do teach their young in any meaningful sense, like, the fact that so few of them are near one another when those kinds of incidents happens, like, it's not a problem that's going away anytime soon.
Yeah, they don't, like, migrate or move together, so they're just
no,
spread out all
there's,
over the
like, 3 reasons I ever see squirrels together, and that's if they're fighting, if they're trying to mate, or if there's a ton of food around. That's the only time you see squirrels actually together.
Or if they're scheming to ruin a human's life.
This is true.
Like that one Geico commercial.
Are you saying that squirrels should be put on the Department of Homeland Security watch list?
Yes.
Short list.
It's sounding like that.
Short list. Yeah. We need,
those jerks are going to pay.
Terror.
Squirrel threat level red. Squirrel threat level red.
Oh no.
Squirrel con.
They're mobilizing. There's so many of them.
Take them
They
down.
outnumber us, so no.
Oh,
dude, one by one dropping into power lines. Oh
goodness. No,
they're organized.
So there's your trivia night fact right there. Squirrels cause the most power outages. Jesus.
Yeah, after storms. I think that was like 60%, and then 20% to 10% was squirrels.
That is definitely a surprising amount.
That is a fun fact, though. It's fun to know. It's obviously a good point of discussion.
Yep, and then just put in some bagpipe music here for all the squirrel lives that were lost this year.
Oh, play "Wind Beneath My Wings."
No,
I will find some bagpipe.
Okay, electric slide. I got you.
Electric slide.
I'll show you the electric.
I'll show you the electric. Oh.
Black and
Such
white.
a positive and uplifting tune.
It's very, very positively charged. All right. And less serious things than squirrel terrorists.
Right.
I actually, over the break, actually on New Year's Eve, I guess I should preface this. There have been sites dedicated to the preservation of video game history. There are 2 sites I want to highlight. The Hidden Palace, which is dedicated to preserving video game history with a focus on development builds and source code for games, as well as the stories attached to those told by developers. And then there's also a site that probably a couple of you are familiar with, The Cutting Room Floor, which catalogs unused content in video games. So on New Year's Eve 2020, the Hidden Palace, in conjunction with the Cutting Room Floor, unveiled the very first found prototype of the original Sonic the Hedgehog. A user referred to as, quote, Buckaroo came forward to them with a prototype build late last year, dumped the ROM, and they did a showcase and have since released the ROM file. And in the show notes, I will have a link to the story about how they got to that point. I know there's going to be a published story about how this ROM came to be in the hands of the community. But like builds like this aren't common. It took the first prototype ROMs of any specifically Sonic the Hedgehog game from the Genesis were found really early in the 2000s. The Simon Y prototype of Sonic 2 specifically, along with the Nick Arcade prototype. But for the other major titles, specifically Sonic 3 and 1, Sonic 3's first prototype was found last year, which included music from before Michael Jackson's alleged involvement with that game. But this is the first prototype build of the original. And I actually downloaded the ROM and poked through it, and I've got a couple key points of interest, because like I know Jake, Kyle, and we all grew up with the game and played it a lot, and a lot of people have. So, first thing I did was open it in a hex editor, because Genesis ROMs have header information that generally tell you when the thing was built. But this one didn't even have any identifying information in the ROM header. It just says Sega Genesis 1989, which suggests that the development for the game began as early as 1989. The build is probably, I'd say it's about 40 to 45% finished in the state that this ROM is released in. Some general changes are, one of the series conventions is you get an extra life for every 100 rings. Well, it turns out originally that total was halved. 50 rings would get you an extra life. You collect them going through a stage. And it's actually, if you've ever played one of these games and you play through this prototype, you'll be getting extra lives like candy. The third and sixth zones, Spring Yard and Scrap Brain respectively, are instead named Sparkling Zone and Clockwork Zone and are mostly incomplete. In fact, Spring Yard / Sparkling Zone has completely different graphics, which are visually kind of assaulting, and it's not hard to see why they subdued that a lot in the final build. Many enemies.
You better show us.
I will. In fact, while we're on this recording right now, I'm actually going to share my screen after I load up this ROM, just so I can show you guys. And I will be posting some video content to our YouTube channel as well, and with the show notes, just to highlight some of these key differences. So, let me reset it. The first thing you guys will notice is the shouting Sega screen is not implemented, and the press start button, which was missing from the final build, is present. It's full debug, so if I press A and start, I get a level select window. Here you can see the names Sparkling Zone, Clockwork Zone. We've got a couple of stages are X'd out, marking them as either inaccessible or incomplete. Specifically Sparkling Zone. Get in here and debug. It's just so much more visually busy in this background here.
Holy moly.
Like,
yeah.
it is...
That hurts to look at.
Yeah, it's Neon City up in here. Yeah, the game is wildly different in a lot of places. Like, right here, there's this chain, very early in what would later become Spring Yard Zone, there's this just giant chain spike ball trap that killed me on my first run through this ROM. It's
yeah, that's absolutely not there in the first one.
No. If we go to the first zone,
just insane name,
comes to the most interesting difference. In the very first stage of the game, there is a physics object / hazard that was originally intended to be in but was cut, which looks like the giant wrecking ball held by the first boss.
Whoa.
If you jump past it, it rolls and chases you, and it actually can push you out of bounds if you're not careful. But it just kind of rolls on its own. It's kind of weird to see how it influenced, but it hits certain places and it jumps and it can crush you.
No, it lands on top of you. Huh?
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah. That really reminds me of the that preview that I'd seen at the video for Nick Arcade. I believe that's where I saw that. Yeah,
I believe this was still implemented in the Nick Arcade kind of reveal of it, premiere of it.
It absolutely was.
Yeah, and this physics, it can just push you out of the geometry straight up.
Crush you against the wall. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, so
Alright, so Ball 2, Sonic 0.
Yeah. But I think probably the primary reason it wasn't implemented is because it has some really weird interactions with collision. If I just stand on top of it here, it just kind of breaks gravity.
Wow.
I can run along with it.
Ride that baby the entire way.
Yeah, and it looks like the texture on it just keeps blinking.
I wonder if that's just a frame rate frequency thing.
Yeah. Well, it appears 3D in the way that it moves, and it actually respawns. But the rolling, it's very convincing the way it rolls.
There it is again.
Yeah.
Wait, you had 2 a second ago.
Yeah, it's very interesting the way it rolls, and it. The way it's placed in these stages,
early of a game.
Yeah, the way it's placed suggests that it is there to kill you straight up. Something I noticed that wasn't on the cutting room floor / hidden palace details is that the invincibility in this build is actually broken. I think it's related to the infamous Sonic 1 spike bug. So if you hit a spike hazard twice in a row, even though you should be invulnerable after that first hit for a grace period, it'll immediately kill you in Sonic 1.
Oh, I hate that. Like, the mobile version retained that unless you wanted to play the version that had the changes.
Yeah, because
I think they incorporated the changes with that one. Like the one that involves giving you spin dash, which...
Yeah. They largely remove that bug in the later releases. So if I get an invincibility monitor here, I can straight up show you that if I run into an enemy, it destroys the enemy. I'm fine. But if I go back over and hit spikes while the invincibility is still active, boom, still harms you and will kill you.
Oh, yeah. Because usually you can just like walk over them on the actual game, right?
Yeah, in the release version, you can just walk over them. So I'm wondering if that is related to the spike bug, or if it's they just haven't implemented that part of the invincibility power-up yet.
Right.
In terms of other content, like for Green Hill Zone, it's mostly the same as the final release. Some objects are placed differently. The platforms don't move independently of one another. They're all synchronized.
Oh, okay.
We have a second wrecking ball here after the spike pillar section where it just tries to push you back off into the abyss. Usually successfully if you don't jump over it.
It absolutely did. You were dead.
And then there is one in Act 3 as well. Right at the beginning of the stage, there's a platform you have to ride over some spikes, and oh, look, it's the ball waiting for you.
Wow, that is so odd.
It is odd, but
I'm trying to remember. They don't really have anything like. I mean, obviously, you said it's like on the boss on this zone has something similar to it, but they don't really use like that mechanic in at least like the first 3 games. I can remember like something rolling like that.
Yeah, like there are like things that will try to crush you, like pistons or whatever.
Right.
But there's never been like a physics object kind of hazard, which, keep in mind, this is 1991 that this was in development, and the fact that they were trying to release something like this that has a physics object in it. I mean, when the competing platforms were the NES and Super Nintendo, like, I can't think of any games from those that have those types of objects that will like roll after you and crush you or anything like that.
Yeah, not that I can remember, but yeah,
it's
impressive.
It is really impressive. Something I should show off real quick, and we'll show off in the video, is that at the some of the level layouts are wildly different. I'm like near what is normally the end of Marble Zone Act 2 in the release build. There are actually fully divergent paths. Normally you would just jump up and out of the stage right here, but there's a whole other section that wasn't there before.
Yeah, I can vouch. I've played that zone a good number of times. That definitely was not there.
Yeah. One of the interesting things is these UFOs in the background of Marble Zone. They were in a lot of pre-release screenshots that were in magazines and stuff. They were actually originally red. They're still present in this build. A lot of enemies haven't been implemented. The infamous caterpillar that breaks apart when you hit it and sends like harmful things everywhere. Oh, and the last difference that I'm going to mention before I move on from showing you guys this is, again, it looks like they tried to do a lot of physics things in this first game. Like, this is kind of related to the Sonic 3 barrel problem, where there should be there's a switch here in the final build. But if you jump on this cylinder, you have to like pile drive it down to get past it. And I think this was probably changed to the switch to avoid the same kind of confusion that a lot of people had in Sonic 3's Carnival Night Zone with the barrel you have to press up and down on.
I spent an embarrassing amount of time on that thing once, just trying to understand, like, why won't this thing go down far enough? So yeah, I fell in that same exact boat.
Yeah, but
it's
like,
kind of embarrassing to try to, like, oh man.
This is a really cool piece of video game history that they uncovered, and like a lot of stuff straight up isn't implemented yet. There's a lot of level layouts that are broken straight up, like you can't progress through them. Things are still very obviously actively in development. like I said, I'd say it's about 45% complete. The ROM is available from the Cutting Room Floor or Hidden Palace. So, if you're interested in video game history, you can go poke through that.
It's amazing that we even have access to that kind of stuff. Kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, this stuff would never have seen the light of day if it was not for enthusiasts and, people are just very passionate about preservation of these things. Cutting Room Floor and Hidden Palace put in a lot of good work out there, and you should definitely check them out.
Yeah, and like the thing you're showing us, is that like basically like the raw file? There wasn't like a lot of editing to it.
Yeah, that was the ROM as it was dumped from the prototype cartridge.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So, the fact that it even works at all is kind of amazing.
Yeah. The only thing I don't think I mentioned yet is movement acceleration is slightly slower and works differently than the final build. I actually tried to capture some footage of the prototype versus the release build, and with 2 emulators bound to the same controller, and I was desynced within 3 seconds of trying to move around. The final build moves quite a bit faster. That was their whole thing, was making a character that was more action-packed than Mario. That was Sega's whole thing. Oh, dang. Hold on, I'm going to load this up again real quick because I forgot to show you guys, just something that is just delightful. The other thing I forgot to mention is that at the end of the level, if you've played one of the classic Sonic games, you run past the signpost, he runs off screen, you wait for the score to count down, the next level starts. And again, this being the first game in the series, they were still establishing these conventions. But he actually gets stopped at the end, and when the score display comes up, if he jumps, he does this little victory leap, like pumping his fist into the air. It's like the most 90s cute thing. It's cute.
Oh. It's cute. Couldn't have kept that in there. Oh.
Yeah, it's just like there's some enemies that were cut that are in the debug mode. There's just like a lot of the ability to see things as they were in development, especially like for something like games, interactive media, and what could have been, how different games could have been, is something a lot of people are passionate about, and it's very interesting to like see the games you've played through a different light. I do think the preservation and the history of how things were developed is something that a lot of folks who engage in playing video games find interesting. So big kudos to Hidden Palace and Cutting Room Floor, and I will have the links to both of those sites and their associated releases in the show notes, and hopefully by the end of the week that this episode is released, I will have a kind of Let's Play video up on our YouTube channel, and you can find that on we'll be posting that on social media, probably Twitter, and in the show notes at WeMightBeNerds.com.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that. I had a lot of fun diving into the ROM.
Just seeing just all the work that went into before Sonic the Hedgehog even became like a company's mascot.
Like before it was a household name, before like most kids knew what it was, like.
Right, yeah. And I don't know. It wasn't like the first game released, right, on the Sega Genesis, but it was one of the first, right?
It was fairly early on. I think Alex Kidd was their mascot beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah, because the
Master
System was,
and the Genesis, yeah.
Was that console was released? What was it, like late 1989? Was it?
I believe so. Because Sega struggled to enter the console market, especially in Japan, with the release of the SG-1000 or the Sega Master System to have that compete against the NES. Most of the games that were big released on that were I think the original Phantasy Star and stuff like that, long form RPGs, but they were competing with the Nintendo Famicom or the NES in the US. The only place Sega really had a foothold up until the mid-90s was primarily Europe, actually, where home computers were more popular.
Gotcha. So that would have been a year and a half gap from the US receiving the Genesis to the time that Sonic the Hedgehog was released. So it's a good amount of time, but not long enough that it, couldn't have time for it to be one of the first prominent releases.
Yeah, Sonic was definitely the first prominent release on the Genesis. It really boosted their popularity. So yeah, neat video game history stuff. Something else I do want to address real quick before we move on. A Twitter user by the name Hey I'm Heroic is an enthusiast about Mii's, the avatars associated with like Nintendo systems since the release of the Wii. Published a discovery that in the game Zelda Breath of the Wild, most of the NPCs are just a very advanced version of Mii's. And they were able to prove it with screenshots of Mii's that they had injected into the game. So that's a discovery that's kind of in process. They're going to release the technical details over the next couple of weeks. So if we don't talk about it on the show, I will at least publish something on WeMightBeNerds.com just to give more details on that, because it's community members diving into things and figuring out how they work is always fun. But that's all I got today.
Gosh,
and weren't some of those Mii models in Breath of the Wild rather disturbing, like taking the extremes of the Mii system and making some fairly terrifying characters, and then they put them in the game?
There were some pretty horrific Mii's.
Oh, where you push the eyes to the middle.
And make them giant. Yeah.
It's like one solid line.
Yeah, they made some abomination Mii's into abomination NPCs, so I'll put some of those screenshots in the show notes.
Clothes.
They had nice clothes.
Era appropriate.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be shocked into entertainment.
I'll pop those in the show notes.
No, we were talking about shocked.
Are you feeling squirrely?
I guess. Yeah, some of the nerdiest things I can think about are usually game related. So why not bring another game thing into this whole situation? Now, I kind of have what is basically, for some people, it might be a in case you missed it. And if you do know what I'm talking about, it's just a nice little refresher, maybe a throwback. But anyway, there was a time where a somewhat unknown glitch for a Nintendo 64 game, actually a couple of N64 games, but one in particular, the effect of this glitch was recreated by many people in Japan and became a meme in itself.
Which game were we talking about?
We were talking about GoldenEye, everyone's favorite. Well, most people's favorite.
GoldenEye 007.
I like it.
Yeah, was better.
Definitely one of the most popular games on. But GoldenEye was first.
Just one of those games spent hours of time playing multiplayer.
Oh yeah, it was definitely one of the big hit pop culture games of the time. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yes.
Bunker was the best.
Pretty darn good. Anyway, so the glitch wasn't necessarily caused by some problems with the game itself, but actually something completely physical, which was known as cartridge tilting. So basically, you would have the game loaded up and playing, and you would come in front of an enemy, and you would jiggle the cartridge up just a little bit on both sides, and then start lifting the left side off slowly, just enough to have it disconnect from a couple of pins, and the guards and characters like that would just start spinning wildly around like a central point.
So it'd make the character models freak out and the physics freak out.
Yeah, all the character models would just have their arms flailing, their head flailing, their everything flailing, but they're all just kind of floating there in one little space.
So some crazy ragdoll physics going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
Yeah, and I from what I gather about the way that the N64 worked, most of the memory, whenever you would load up a game, would be then stored in RAM, because the RAM was much more powerful and faster than if you were trying to read everything from ROM.
Yeah, it's always
so most of everything. Exactly. So only kind of as needed information was stored in ROM still to be accessed later. But one of the things was, yes. But one of the things was characters, like kind of their wireframe points and stuff like that, general location data of an enemy would be still in ROM to be accessed. And whenever you would lift that pin, even though all of the polygon building and stuff was in RAM, as soon as you would lift up that left side, it would default some of the values to 0. So it would pull some of that, the character inward, but it couldn't just be like, it couldn't hit the middle, so it would fly everywhere else.
So it's like a 3D model black hole. Like you have a humanoid shape that suddenly all of the points of this 3D model are bouncing around, but it still has like laws of physics in relation to itself that it has to obey, so it just ends up spinning wildly. Is that the gist of it?
Yeah, that is the gist of it. And a little bit unrelated to the meme that was built out of that, the sound would get a little corrupted as well. It would kind of basically be a staticky kind of noise, but I mean, you would definitely know it was working if you heard that noise.
So what's the meme that came from this?
So the meme that came from this, someone had posted a compilation of these cartridge tilting GIFs onto YouTube. And from there, it was also posted onto some other hosting sites. One of them in particular was one in Japan called Nico Nico Duga. And it was kind of like their version of, something that could play videos a la YouTube. Actually, at one time, they were using YouTube as their service, and Nico Nico Duga was the platform around it.
So this is like the kind of like internet meme, like the trends that we see on stuff like Snapchat or Insta, or like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. Everybody's doing it in whenever that was big, 2014.
Oh yeah, kind of like the Fortnite dances,
Yeah,
the last couple of years.
So this is in the vein of that. But when was this happening? Like you said, 2008, 2009.
The original video of the cartridge tilting had come out in the middle of 2007, but very soon afterward, people were starting to make some videos kind of like layering a certain song over the moments where the glitch would occur. Kind of like it was almost like the tilting and the flailing was like a dance breakdown.
Oh, so they were reenacting the character spazzing as part of a dance routine in real life. Okay, you got to give us a link for this, man. Give us a link.
Or share your screen.
Oh yeah, share your
absolutely.
screen.
Yeah, I can share this screen.
I can't see it. It's just black.
Okay, so
you might need to send us the link on this one.
Okay, I'll send the link. And
so Stream didn't even like this meme.
No, cartridge tilted the link.
Yeah, that is for cartridge tilting.
And was this like, you said left side is like when you're looking at the front, like from the controller port side, the left side? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess obviously it was just like by accident somebody discovered that at first.
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those.
Wow.
I believe the first people that were doing cartridge tilting were doing it on Super Mario 64 and figured out that it could be applied to some other games, especially those that involved, other characters that had polygons, which was
do the same thing in Mario?
Everyone, but yeah, you could do the same kind of thing, except it would like shove half of Mario 90 degrees into the ground.
Yeah, like
sounds beneficial for gameplay.
Yeah, different games would be affected differently by having parts of the ROM, the read-only, the data of the game inaccessible.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep, it would default the values to 0 for those particular things that we're trying to.
Or they might have other default values as well, like because like position 0 in most side scrollers type games is like actually the top left of the screen, so it could affect a lot of games a lot of ways.
Yeah, it would like shove it way up in the corner of your screen.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Oh jeez. Yeah, but this one is probably the one that I would consider the funniest because, I mean, it's just like they're all still there, but they're just like they can hardly interact with you. They can't shoot you while this is happening.
Yeah, because like the characters are moving around and then like spazzing out every couple of seconds and just completely unplayable, but very visually funny. And there are people reenacting this motion.
Yes, there are people
like in edited videos, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it started out as a like a drawing of an anime character, and then it started evolving into people like doing like a stop motion kind of animation.
So do you have video of the people doing this?
Yes, I do.
Share it.
I need to see this. Yeah, share it.
Yeah. Yeah, a version of that, like the cartridge tilting glitch, they started, throwing some music over it. And one song in particular seemed to stick, and it was this J-pop song called Promise from 1997 by Komi Hirose. And yeah, it was just like every single time the glitch would occur, they would throw the music on. But then people started, every video that would come after that would be the same exact song. So it's getting closer and closer to a meme.
That's definitely meme-ish.
Yeah, and I will give you a link in a general if I can get it there.
Can Kyle deliver a link? Find out next time. No.
It's right here. Actually, I'll give you 3 of them.
Let's just go with this first one for now. Am I going to regret clicking this? Probably.
Volume all the way up.
Oh my god.
I mean, if you look at this stop motion video compared to like the actual cartridge tilting glyph, like the glitch itself, you can definitely see the inspiration of it, but it's like on a really crazy, certainly different cultural kind of level. The dance moves are certainly a little more like a little happy, but like for some reason in the middle of each one of these there's like a section where they're like hip thrusting the they're just stop motion hip thrusting.
I don't understand. It's visually it's very funny. It's like these people are just floating around.
Yeah, they're usually stop motioned after jumping in the air. Like they'll jump in the air, take a picture, jump in the air a different way, take a picture, jump in, and then compile that. So
it's like a static camera,
and like their arms are in different places, and like so it looks like they're doing the thing where they're hovering above the ground and just flailing everywhere, much like that glitch.
People physically reenacting glitched out video game characters and posting them to music online is a very late 2000s, early 2010s meme for sure.
Yeah, and it was a fairly limited time for all this to happen. It kind of prime time for it was between 2008 and 2010, and I mean there were a lot of different kind of memes that were making it rounds that were kind of similar to that. Like America more or less had like the Harlem Shake going on at the same time. Mm-hmm. And this was kind of like that, but a little before it. So I mean the internet all seemed to be on the
this is pre Harlem Shake for sure.
Yeah, Harlem Shake was like 2012, I think, around then.
Yeah, very, very similar to that. Yeah, and I'm just giving you a couple of links of examples. The second one's another pretty good example.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And the third one is actually one from like 3 weeks ago. So there are still people that want to do it, but typically do it in an ironic fashion, where they are combining it with something else. Like this one says, "Get on Souls."
I can't remember what armor that is from Dark Souls.
Law Track.
Yep. So the particular song is that I had mentioned was like a J-pop song called Promise. And there's a section of it where every once in a while in this song is an English word thrown in. And this dance kind of starts right at the part where they say get down. So they called it like the get down meme for a little while. Then they would like title it as like, a certain video, get down. But someone kind of Englishified it or like made it kind of like broken English and kind of had like get on and they kind of started adopting that as the thing. So it ended up as GEDDAN for the meme itself. So if you were to type in GEDDAN, you would see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'll definitely link these videos in the show notes. It's very funny stuff. The thing that is interesting about, like, we really need to, like, look through, like, the history of internet memes, because the pace of the internet is so breakneck. Like, this was probably very popular for, like, a specific week in the time frame you specified, 2008, 2009, and then, like, a subset of people kept going with it until it eventually died out, and now it's just, like, referenced as a historical bit.
Yeah, it really is. And I came to the party way too late on that, but still really.
Yeah, you're about 10 years. You're about a decade late, man.
But that's the kind of stuff I love. I wish I saw more of that nowadays, but beggars can't be choosers.
So now you need to record your own video of this.
I was thinking of doing so, and I never had the time.
I tell you
what,
you find the time to do it, and I will post it to our YouTube channel. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can start doing a bit more YouTube content.
Personally.
Yeah, me too. Please.
For that, please have mercy.
No.
Nope, no mercy.
2021.
You presented this to us. You have to do it now. Yeah.
I just love how this meme that really kind of blew up, at least in Japan, kind of made its way over to YouTube, was inspired by a game glitch. Seriously, just a game glitch. And even a kind of obscure one, a hard to replicate one at that. So I find that kind of stuff fascinating. I couldn't wait to show this one.
But probably, I mean, I would imagine back then that stuff had a little bit more legs than they do now, as far as how long they would last. Because now, everything's just so flash in the pan.
Yeah, because like most of these videos are like 30 seconds to a minute, and like I think it would be interesting for us to look at like the history of internet memes, but also how they propagate, what makes a meme and stuff like that, because it is a cultural phenomena that is linked to the internet. It just inexplicably, humans are weird. is what memes come down to, is things become mimetic and humans like latch to it. It's something I'd like to learn more about.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that would be a good special episode. All about memes.
All about memes.
Yep, I will send those show notes over. Everyone can preview that at the website. It's on the website, right?
Yep, WeMightBeNerds.com. We own that. I can't believe it wasn't already taken.
It is now.
Either.
So dance
time. Yeah.
Dance break.
Dance break. Break it down.
All right, show's over at dance party. We're breaking for dance.
No, what?
No.
Sarah, you got anything to kind of calm things down?
Yeah, mine's not nearly as wild as those moves. Yeah. So, I don't know about you guys, but our kids have recently taken an interest in astronomy. So, we've kind of been following a lot of this stuff going on in the space beyond our earthly bubble. And
the outer, I see.
The outer of the spaces, not the inner spaces, because we're all a little too much in our inner spaces right now, so it's good to look out. So last month we had the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, where they got super close in the sky, where you could see them through one telescope lens at the same time. That was pretty cool.
It was really cool.
Don't know if you guys went outside, because you could just see it with your eyes too, which was really neat.
No telescope, that's a great star. Not really a star, but
Yeah, it's a bright light in the sky.
Yeah,
it was pretty cool.
It's one of those lights.
Yeah. And we went out, we tried to do our drive to find a clear spot, decided to go home, and realized we could just see it clearly from our front yard. So we could have spent more time looking at it, but we enjoyed the bit that we did see.
It was very cool.
But it reminded me of just like a silly video, just a little reference in CGP Gray's YouTube video, Hexagons Are the Bestigons. He mentioned something about Saturn specifically that I was like, hey, I gotta see what the deal is with this. So Saturn's North Pole has a storm above it. Like we get northern and southern lights, Saturn gets giant storms, but the storm at Saturn's North Pole is shaped like a hexagon. No joke. And this isn't like some small storm. This is each side of the hexagon is 9,000 miles long. And for reference, Earth's diameter is just under 8,000 miles. So this storm is massive, hexagonal, and it changes color. It was discovered in 1981 on the Cassini mission, or the Voyager mission. The Cassini probe discovered it, but didn't get a very good look at it because that was like Saturn's winter, so it couldn't really see it well. It appeared like blue at the time. Well, since then, they've been able to get images where clearly see it. It has changed to a bright gold color because the sun has warmed up Saturn because it finally had a season change.
Oh, yay.
And just this massive storm is still going since 1981. Obviously, it's been there long before then. They can't verify how long it's been there. But this is like the top third of Saturn is this storm. And
it's just like, yeah.
It's caused because and it's not as exciting as I thought it would be, the real reason behind it, but it's still cool that there's this giant hexagon storm. And it's just different air speeds going different directions. The center of the storm going one way, and then on the outside of the hexagon, it's just spinning the other way.
Oh.
It's not as interesting as I thought, but there's some other interesting facts about Saturn we could throw at you, but
I'm here for it.
Any input on this celestial polygon?
Like, it's interesting that it exists as something that we recognize from, geometry, and that it's caused by just something as simple as counteracting forces. Pretty darn neat. It's a neat visual treat for us here on Earth, even if I'm sure there's got to be a bit more to it that, like, we haven't probed for, but...
Yeah, it's only been... As of 2020, have they been able to, like, replicate making that shape in a lab in those kinds of conditions? So...
Do you have any videos?
I have a link to the NASA page where they put together the images from the Cassini probe into a video to kind of show it in motion. They did have to, add different colors to the different layers of the atmosphere, but it's this huge storm the size of over 6 Earths. It's got other hurricanes inside of it, but it's just this giant swirling hexagon of hydrogen, helium, methane, and ammonia.
Oh, wow.
Sounds like where you want to be, right?
It's absolutely insane looking. Psychedelic.
Yes.
I like that there's like a ring just outside of the hexagon too. That's also hexagon shaped.
Yeah, and it's just the different air speeds and the way that the different chemicals in the atmosphere react with each other. But the southern pole does not have it. It's only the North Pole, and it's pretty wild looking.
And there's a couple little storms inside of that one too. I can see some
because it's kind of because like probably the more famous like persistent storm is like the red spot on Jupiter.
Yeah.
Which is just like a blob that's like constantly changing shape.
That's just an oval. That's boring.
Well, yeah, it doesn't keep its shape.
I will point out that small storm you're seeing inside there, that the bigger of those small storms is 50 times the size of Earth's largest hurricane.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
For scale. That's pretty big.
That's wild.
So when can we get hexagonal hurricanes on Earth?
I guess when Earth becomes more interesting. I don't know.
I'm sick of living in interesting times, though.
I want to be living in boring times.
Please.
Yeah, gotta get more ammonia in the atmosphere. Yeah.
I want to leave the house, and ammonia in the air doesn't let me do that.
No. But I mean, I don't think they'd have the same issues we're having if we had ammonia in our atmosphere to this degree.
No, we would. We'd just all be dead instead.
Yeah. So I mean, picking battles, I think I'll stay here for a bit longer.
Yeah, I'll take
as cool as this hexagon storm would be.
Oh man.
So like, the storm was a little bit disappointing, but found some other neat stuff about Saturn. And how many moons do you think Saturn has? Without looking that up.
22.
I took an astronomy class. I don't remember.
126.
Well, like 8.
What'd you say, Kyle?
What, 8?
8 moons? Is that your guess?
Yeah.
Mine's 22.
And Jake said 120.
Something over 100. Yeah.
Before last year, or before 2019, they only knew about 62. 82 confirmed moons, but over 150 moons and smaller moons they're calling moonlets, which is kind of a cute name for a moon.
Wait,
small moon.
How many moonlets?
Many moons.
Over 150 moons and moonlets, but 82 confirmed moons.
So Saturn has like 200 moons, is what I'm hearing?
No, Saturn has 82 confirmed moons that they're
150 satellite objects that are moon-like in nature.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are there any rejected moons?
I'm sure there are plenty of them. Saturn has every variety of moon that we have in our solar system. They've got totally frozen moons that they found water on. They've got shepherd moons that actually help keep Saturn's rings in place.
Really?
Yes. Those are... where was it?
So there's like watchdog moons, huh?
Yes, they absolutely. They help keep the outer rings in place. I know I read that earlier, now I can't find it. But
that is weird.
And then it's got massive moons, Titan and Rhea. Its moon Enceladus has a frozen ocean, an ocean below a frozen surface.
Wow.
And Saturn isn't actually round like most other planets because it spins so quickly. It's actually ovular in shape. It's flat. It is the flattest planet in our solar system.
It's pancaking.
It is pancaking.
Yeah, those failed moons. I was just hoping that NASA would find a moon and say, "Oh, that's no moon." and otherwise, I'm going to be really disappointed.
Delete all of this.
But that it has that many satelliting objects is incredibly interesting. And like the first thing that came to mind was just like each planet is each moonlet is its own city. Like 1,000 years in the future, sure.
That would be awesome. Like, if they were habitable, definitely. Yeah. Let's just build our own solar system. I want to buy this moon over here so that I've got the biggest backyard and nobody can land on my planet. Or my
Are we going to
moonlet.
play Monopoly with the moons?
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
Space Monopoly. Let's do it.
You don't think humans in the future are going to try to monopolize moons?
They absolutely will.
They for sure will.
We're trying to do it with Earth's moon.
Yeah.
Well, like Elon Musk wants to kind of do it with Mars, sending people up there for a loan and then having indentured servitude to pay it off. So...
Yeah, because that seemed to work so well. Ugh.
Yeah. Humans are trash.
Hey guys, read up on your history. You might learn something. Not everything that happened in the past was good.
And not everything needs to be monetized, damn it. Least of all
or
space.
Repeated. Please don't repeat many things that happened in history.
Oh, that reminds me. You're talking about Elon Musk. I just learned recently that he is now officially the world's richest man.
Let's see how long that lasts. The Tesla stocks aren't exactly stable.
Yeah.
Let's see. As of 12:38 a.m., January 11th, this is true.
Nice.
As of 12:39 a.m., this may not be.
I don't think any of us are actually looking, so we can't tell.
No.
Gosh darn it, it's the 11th. Oh.
Alrighty.
It's a new day.
Yeah, I had to go down a rabbit hole because, like, you were talking about how it is on the North Pole of Saturn. I had to look up how you determine what the North Pole of the planet is.
How do you determine what the North Pole?
It said it was determined on which direction it spins. So if you're like above the planet, looking down at its axis, if it's turning counterclockwise, that's the north.
Neat.
For
It's neat.
our definitions, I guess.
I guess it's all Earth.
So on
Earth
Saturn,
centric,
it might be its east pole.
Right, east pole. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I guess it's all we base it on what we know from Earth, and it's like that's how we determine the North on other planets. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're all getting pretty tired, and I will hopefully have this released later today. Kind of coming down to the wire, but scheduling issues aside, we finished our first episode of the year. So,
hooray!
Hey, Happy New Year! Yay, 2021!
All right.
A week late and then some. But thank you so much for listening to our podcast about random facts, about random stuff that we find interesting. And hopefully you find it interesting too. We can be found on social media at mightbenerdspod on Twitter. You can email us at wemightbenerdspod@gmail.com, or you can just visit our website and see the show notes at wemightbenerds.com. Literally all there's there is show notes until we start making more stuff for it. We do this show for fun, so hopefully y'all had fun too. Any plugs we want to do this week besides the stuff we've already discussed? Anybody?
I have no plugs.
CGP grade.
Good stuff. Specifically, Hexagons are the Bestagon video. I would recommend watching that.
If that one's good for anybody, nerdy or not.
It's just a fun, alliterative, informative video. Absolutely. All right. Well, the next episode will be, assuming we don't mess up our scheduling, on
25th?
January 25th. So, until then, I'm Dylan Critchfield.
I'm Kyle Montgomery.
I'm Sarah Critchfield.
And I'm Jacob Montgomery.
Thank you for listening to our show. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.
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 If you liked our podcast, you might just be a nerd too.
Yay, be safe out there. Be safe, my nerds.
We're blasting off again.
Nerds.
And stop.